Hey there, I'm Meg, and in this tutorial, I'm going to give you a comprehensive tour of Mailchimp, which is an email marketing software. Now, many people opt to start out with Mailchimp because it is free for up to 2,000 subscribers. That's certainly what I did. But if you're looking for something else or if you want to upgrade, I recommend using Flodesk, and I'm going to link to a couple of tutorials down below where I go through the 5 reasons why I use Flodesk, a tour of Flodesk along with an affiliate code for Flodesk so you can get your subscription for 50% off, which means Flodesk is $19 a month no matter how many subscribers you have. And in comparison, Mailchimp is definitely more than that once you have more than 2,000 subscribers. So we are going to head on over to Mailchimp. So all you do is type in mailchimp.com. And then in the upper right, you would see log in, but I'm already logged in, so we're going to skip that. And as soon as you log in, this is the dashboard. Now, one of the reasons why I switched from Mailchimp is because it is really cluttered and confusing to navigate. So that's what this tour is for, to help you make it through if you are committed to sticking with Mailchimp. So let's dive in. Your options are going to be here on the left sidebar, and the top one here is create, which is how you start an email from scratch. Now notice you can also do a few other things, like you can create a landing page or a survey, and you can also do sign up forms from here, but everything that you see here I like to get to in a different place. So we'll keep moving. This is your audience, which is basically your lists. So I shifted all of my lists to Flodesk, and I only have the one list left. I have 2 lists left. So what your list is basically the people who subscribe to your email list, and you can have multiple lists. So on Flodesk, I have a list for business and marketing contacts. So these are the people who signed up to get my weekly marketing business email. And then I also have a list for my photography contacts who receive a monthly photography related email. On Mailchimp, I have online courses because I used to deliver my online courses through Mailchimp. It was an automated system. And then if somebody were to subscribe to my email newsletter when they're checking out on my website, they would go here. So you can have as many lists. Well, I think now you can only have 4 lists with the free Mailchimp account. We'll have to dive into that a little bit later. And you can add tags to your list. Tags are super helpful. So here I had tags for each of my online courses. So what a tag means is that if you want to send an email to your list, to your audience, but you don't want it to go to everybody on the list, you can assign tags to different members of your audience, and you can send an email to only the people tagged. And you can also set up automations that only go to those tags. So for example, the Create with Canva tag, whenever I added a contact and tagged them Create with Canva, they automatically received an automation, which was the online course. Now, the Facebook facelift people wouldn't get that unless they also had the tag. So it just makes sure that you are very specific in your targeting, and it helps you be more effective with your marketing. So when you click on audience, it automatically goes to the last list that you were working on looking at. View contacts shows you the actual people who subscribe to your list. We're not going to go there because of privacy reasons, but on your contacts, you can click on them and you can edit them. You can add additional fields like their birthday, etc., etc. And then all contacts shows everybody between all of your lists. And then sign up forms. This is how you get people to sign up for your email newsletter. So note that it is tied to the specific audience. So right now we're on online courses, but if we wanted to make a sign up form for the website checkout subscribers, we would click and switch over to here. So form builder is where you're going to want to start. It serves as like a page on your website. So you could literally copy this URL and add it as a link on your website, sign up for my email newsletter. So it would be like a button and somebody would click that and it would bring them to this page. Now, this is the title. You can add a logo. You can change the name. You can add a message, which basically describes what your list is all about. And these are the different fields that you can have on that form. And then you also have these options that you can add. So we're going to go back to the main sign up form. Embedded forms is what you actually embed on your website. So instead of being a separate page like the last form, this physically shows up on your website wherever you put it. It's really simple. All you have to do is copy this code and then paste it in a code block on your website wherever you want it to go. And this allows you to edit a little more of the look of this form. A lot of this is just kind of stuff that you don't need to deal with. Now, GDPR is required for European business owners. It's just an extra level of verification that makes sure that you're not just adding people to your email list, which is illegal. Even in the States, you cannot add somebody to your list unless you have permission. And permission could be they wrote their name and email on a sign-up form at your place of business, or they signed up on a form on your website. Now, GDPR is an extra step where once somebody signs up for your email list, they receive an email where they have to click a button to confirm their email address. So it is good no matter where you live to have this enabled, just to make sure you're compliant. Now, you can also see the different styles of embedded forms. And you'll notice that the code does change. Whoops. So look down here, the code changes based on what form you're at. Now, unfortunately, the style isn't super customizable, so it's best to start with the form builder where we were just at and do all of your style edits there. Some of them do translate into embedded forms, but not all of them do. It's one of my complaints with Mailchimp. A pop-up is basically the same thing, the same process, but instead of just living on your website in one specific place, it actually pops up when somebody comes to your website, and you can set the delay on the pop-up, like if you want the pop-up to appear 10 seconds after somebody comes to your website or 30 seconds. And this is new. I recommend not using this. Basically, this is a contact form where people can enter information and contact you from your website. So I did not explain that well. So basically, it's better to have a contact form on your website than to list your email address, because you'll significantly reduce the amount of spam you get. So when somebody fills out a contact form, let's say they want to ask you a question, that question is automatically emailed to you. I recommend using the contact form that's on your website. So Squarespace, it's a form block. On WordPress, it would be a plugin. I would use those. I wouldn't use a Mailchimp one. Form integrations. We'll go here. These are integrations that basically companies that Mailchimp works with, but I wouldn't really go here. Okay, so if you want to add a contact, you would click add contacts, add a subscriber, and again, you cannot add somebody unless they give you permission. This is where you would add all their information, and this is where you add a tag. And if you were to edit a current contact, it would basically look like this. And notice they have, this person gave me permission to email them. So again, you cannot add somebody unless they give you permission. And then manage contacts allows you to view your contacts based on tags, groups, segments. These are all different ways of categorizing your list, but it's best to just stick with tags. And here is where you can edit the GDPR, basically the settings for your GDPR email. Okay, so that's as far as we're going to dive into audience. Down here is campaigns. This is where you actually create your emails. And I like to create campaigns from here because if I already have an email that I like the style of, I just go down here and I click replicate, and then I'll edit it from there. It saves so much time instead of starting from scratch each and every time. Now, these are the different types of things you can do. You're mostly going to be playing with emails and automations. Automations, you can tell it has this little kind of refresh looking icon. An automation is also what's known as a welcome sequence, where when somebody's added to your list, they automatically receive a series of emails that basically informs them who you are and welcomes them to your list and all of that. It's also part of a funnel, if you've heard that buzzword. So automations are definitely important to set up for each of your lists. And then emails are your actual campaigns. This is what you send to people weekly, monthly, whatever frequency you decide. So when you click on these, it just filters down what you currently have going on. We're just going to go back to all. So again, I typically just copy one that I already have established, but if you want to start from scratch, or if you are starting from scratch, you just created your Mailchimp account, you're going to head on up here and create campaign and just click on email. And it is super important to make sure that you choose the right template. I'm just going to name this test. Nobody sees this but you. So we'll get to template in a moment. On the back end, this is where you add the list or your audience. So you choose your audience here. And here is where you can choose your tags. So let's actually go to this list so you can see my tags. This is if you wanted to have your email say to Meg instead of just hey there. I usually don't do this, but I know a lot of people do. Whoops, I forgot to save that. You just get to see it again, so you can really learn how this works. You're not really going to edit this much. This is just when somebody receives the email, who shows up or what shows up in the from line. So that basically stays the same. This is where you add your subject line. And again, it's super important to have a very catchy subject line that gives people a reason to open your email to begin with. And also, before we move into design, because this is going to be a bit of a process here, I always edit the URL of my campaign. So the URL is what you would copy and paste to share on social media. And let's say I were sending out a monthly newsletter, I would just change the URL to March 2021 newsletter and call that good. If you do a weekly email, you can just change to the week, the number of what the week is. That's what I do on Flodesk. Okay, so we're going to save that. I never have it automatically post because it never looks good. Just copy this URL and paste it into social media manually if you want to share your emails to social media. I usually don't. Okay, so back to design email. This is what I was alluding to earlier. It is super important to choose the right template. We are going to go to the new builder because if it's going to be what's what, you might as well get used to it now. So we're just going to X out of that because I like things to be as uncluttered as possible. So you're automatically going to be assigned a template. And if you click templates in the upper left here, you can choose a different template. So let's just say we're gonna go with that one. So this is also very important to note. If you get halfway through your email and you decide to change your template, you're going to want to click continue with existing content. This saves your text, your images. It may kind of move them in a funky location, so you'll still have to do a little bit of tweaking, but definitely be sure to click that. I know we didn't do anything, but just getting you in the habit of clicking that. So Mailchimp, like many platforms, works on what's called the block system. So for example, this is an image block, and then over here in the left sidebar, you would upload your image or you would select your image from the library. So what is cool about Mailchimp is it does keep all of your images in a library, so you don't have to keep uploading them. You can change the alignment of your image to an extent. It's not doing anything. Sometimes it does. It's very kind of wacky when it does. I got distracted. This is how you change the height and the width. You just drag. Oh, now you can see the right align. There we go. See right selected. If we click centered, it goes down to there. So dragging these edges is how you crop your image, but not, it doesn't, it resizes your image. So it won't actually crop in. It just adjusts the aspect ratio of your image. And if you want your image to link to something like your website, you can add that there. Alt text is basically a description of the image that when someone hovers over the image, it pops up. Not super important. It is on your website because that helps SEO, but on an email newsletter, it doesn't really matter. This is literally the background of that block. And if you want to add a custom color, you can just enter the hex code right in there. And it's basically the same premise with all of these blocks. This is a button block. Always make sure that your social media icons are linked because Mailchimp automatically just links to the general link. So always add your username. This stuff is automatically input in. This is all legal stuff that you have to have in your emails. You have to allow people to unsubscribe, and then you have to have your address, and Mailchimp just floods all that in for you, which is pretty great. So if you wanted to add a block, you would just click that plus right there, and you would choose any of these. So divider is great for dividing your email if you want to be visual and make it easy for people to scan through. The rest are pretty self-explanatory. Paragraph is what they call text. And you can edit your text just like you would on like Microsoft Word. You have these general options here, and then you have your font options, your size options, your color options over here. And if you want to link, you click that button right there, add your link, insert, and you're good to go. Let's say that you are done with your email. You're going to click continue. And after waiting patiently, you'll be brought back here. And one nice thing is that Mailchimp does scan your email. So if you get this X, you can see the notifications. See, because we didn't edit the placeholder text on the button, it's telling you that, which is pretty snazzy because it would look kind of foolish if you didn't do that. So then once you're ready to go, once this has a check, you would click send or schedule. Schedule is awesome because it allows you to choose the date and the time that the email will go out. So I like my emails to go out at 5 a.m., but I'm never up at 5 a.m. So I just schedule them to go out then. And it also allows you to plan a bunch of emails ahead of time, which is pretty snazzy. So we're going to go back to all campaigns. And you're going to see this test one that we just did. It's a draft. This shows you sending. And whenever an email does go out, you can see your analytics here. So if you hover, you can see the actual numbers. And if you go back here, you can see the percentages. And then if you want to see even more statistics, you're going to click view report, not the down arrow, click view report. And you can get even more specific performance metrics, which is pretty cool. Because this is an automation, you can see how many people opened each individual email. View subscribers in queue is just who still needs to be sent the email. So each email sends a week after the last. So once somebody gets sent module 1, they're going to be in the queue for module 2, and they'll get that email a week after the module 1 one went out. So you can click on many of these and get, like if you click on here, you can see the actual people who have gone through the entire automation sequence, or if this was just a straight up email, you could see specifically who opened that email. And then let's say somebody clicked on a link and they bought something on your website, you can see that, which is pretty cool. You can also compare to the industry average, which is down here, and your specific audience average, which is also very snazzy. So that's all we are going to cover for emails. I always do automations and emails here. I usually don't do them here, but that's an option. Down here, this is something that I recommend not doing. This is if you wanted to create your website with Mailchimp. I recommend not using Mailchimp to do your website. I highly recommend Squarespace. And then Content Studio is where you can create posts and things like that. Like you can create, it's basically like Canva. I would just use Canva to create designs. Integrations is how you can connect Mailchimp to your website to social media. You don't have to do this unless there's a specific reason why you'd want to do this. So if you don't know a reason, then just don't worry about it. You're good. Search is just search to find things. And then down here, this is how you get to your settings. So notifications is, do you want to be notified every time somebody signs up for your email list? I don't, because that's annoying. Profile is how you edit your name, your email address, and this is also where you can edit your password as well as where is it? Yeah, so this is where, remember, it automatically, when Mailchimp sends an email, it automatically floods in your from address. This is where it pulls it from. And then back down here, if we go to account, that's where you update your billing info. Now, before we end this tutorial, we're just going to quickly click on upgrade now, just so you can see the pricing. And it is March 2021 as of this recording. So you can see the free plan has a $2,000 2,000 contact maximum. And then you can see all of the extras. So you'll notice that you can only have 500 contacts on both of these plans, but you get more features. So, and also too, you would be able to get more email send. So I'll actually click on each of them. Now, this also doesn't highlight how many lists you can have, because I've hit the list limit on the free account before I switched over to Flodesk. So keep that in mind. This is why I mean on Mailchimp. This is why I recommend using Flodesk, because there is no limit to how many emails you can send. There is no limit to how many lists you can have or contacts you can have. Whereas when I was here on Mailchimp, I ended up having too many lists, and that's why I switched to Flodesk. And I really wish it kind of outlined that for you. It just tells you the number of contacts, which is kind of misleading. So I will link to everything Flodesk down in the bottom. If you have any questions about Mailchimp, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. There is definitely a lot to this, and it can be confusing. So just stick with the spots that I showed you, and you should be good to go. Best of luck, and I will see you in the next video.